Well, what you're seeing here is my pile of wood for my chair. I've got it all cut up, and I didn't bother filming that. You guys have seen people cut up wood thousands of times, not a big deal. All I did is wanted to get the pieces. I always start with my largest piece first, which is going to be, I think, 33 inches. Then I work my way down through, and that way I can cut all the big ones first so I don't have a bunch of small ones cut out of big boards and not be able to use it. So I ended up with a few scrap pieces over here. I've got these little end piece cutoffs here also. And one of the things I've done with one of them, as you can see here, this is the dog-eared part. And all I done is laid it on my chop saw, and I slid it over to the distance of my spacer, just kind of, that was my little guide mark right there. And these will be just little shim blocks that I'll put in, that I'll either probably just brad nail in with a little bit of glue from both sides, kind of add a little extra support, a couple different spots. I'll show you that when I get there. Not really that important right now, but just wanted to kind of show you what I've done. The other thing I had done is I brought the chair in here, which is right over here, and you can see the one that I built before with my test build. It actually is a little bit thinner wood. It's a cheaper fence board. I decided to go a little thicker wood, kind of give a little bit more of a stout, heavy-duty chair is my goal. And I measured every piece on it and just wrote down. So my longest piece was 40 inches, so on and so forth. I needed 2 of those. And as I cut them, I put a little tick here on the side. Then my 30-inch pieces, I needed 4 of those. I put a little tick on the side, so on and so forth. This will all get rewrote, and I'll either put it in the description underneath, or I'll take an actual screenshot of the cut list so you guys know what to do. So I'm also keeping track of all my boards, and I've got, let's see, 3, looks like 4, 5, 6, 7 boards here. So we'll see what we're looking at. I think the boards were under $3 a piece, so we're under $21 into this thing, not counting screws so far. I'll make sure I've got the right number of boards, that I've got exactly what I've got in it. So anyway, back on to the next step. Hello, one of the things I did, because I plan on making a few of these chairs, if you're not going to bother making more than one set or even one, I wouldn't bother making these. But I went ahead and made myself a couple templates. This is the shape of my arm, the hand where you put your hand to get up, and this one here is the shape cut out. I misdrew it the first time, but the outside, the one I cut off, is the same shape as the back of my chair, as you can see right here. So that way I'll have those laying around. I've got them marked, obviously back chair and arm of chair. Probably drill a couple holes, one in each, hang up on the wall, so I'll have them forever if I ever need them again. I figured that I went ahead and might as well knock a couple of those out. I'll go through, and when I sand these up, I'll kind of clean them up a little bit, which ain't a big deal. I went ahead and I cut out all my arms, my backs. You can see here, I've got a little video I'm going to cut in here in just a second, show you on the bandsaw. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually clamp these together, take them to my sander, then I'm going to go ahead and sand them to a better shape, get them a little smoother. And the reason I'm going to clamp them together is because I'm too cheap to buy carpet tape or double-sided tape, however you want to word it, depends on which way you look at it. I like to clamp them down, and then I don't have to waste any money by throwing the tape away. So I'll clamp up a pair of each of these. I might even clamp up all four. They're the same shape for the 4 backs and sand them all at one time. Then I'll clamp my 2 arms together, which are over here, and sand those also. Anyway, I'll be back in a second. Well, here I'm back to show you my sanding results for clamping them together. I couldn't show you the actual sanding on video because where it's at, it's kind of in a really screwed up spot. There's nowhere of getting enough light over there to even make it worth filming. So what I'd done is I took the 2 arms, same as the 4 backs, I clamped them all together, but you want to clamp the good sides in, that we don't get the dents on it so much where your clamp's going to go right here. But you want to clamp them in together backwards, obviously. That way you have the same radius, because it's not a perfect circle. If you notice here on the chair, it's kind of an odd shape. So what I've done is I went ahead and sanded them. You can see it's nice and smooth all the way around here. I'm going to tilt it up so you can see the shape that it turned out to actually be. Now when I run it on my router, I won't end up with something like I have on this chair, which if you notice right here, there's that little weird bobble mark. That's from the board not being smooth when I put the router on it. So my goal is to eliminate that part, which I've done pretty well here, and they're going to match up. They're not 100% perfect, I'm sure, but the backs back here are also flush. I guess one is just a smidgen longer, but not enough you're ever going to notice when you move them apart 30 inches. So pretty much all I've done is I put them face to face, put 2 clamps on them, and screwed it down super tight. And the nice part of doing that is you actually give yourself a handle to hold on to. You can actually hold on to the clamp while you're doing it. And just assume this table right here is the belt sander that I have going. I'm going to hold it with one hand improperly, but I have one hand holding camera. I just started out right here. Imagine that's the sander going, and then I just rotate it up until I get all the way where I want to be, about to even. And because this one, I pick it up, then I start over and do the same thing the opposite direction. I just keep doing that over and over until I get the shape and get them both even sized the way I want it. So anyway, that's the part there on how to clamp those together so you get an even match. If a guy had like a spindle sander, it'd be a whole lot easier. He could watch it a lot closer, see what's happening with the belt sander. Disc sander combo I've got. Normally I have a little better view, but where I'm at, it's normally my door's open to my garage and I'm standing outside and using it right here inside the shop. Because I didn't want to let the heat out, I went ahead and just kind of ran it, but I was standing behind it, it was a mess. So anyway, you can do this with when you cut these out if you want to. You could have clamped these together and cut it out with a hand jigsaw if you want to. That would have worked. If you're going to clamp it together on the bandsaw like I cut mine out, you would want to use the tape then, because you won't have room for the clamps on the table to swing around. So if you clamp them together, cut them and then sand them, you'll be a lot quicker than I did. I just cut them individually, and there was one spot that was pretty far off, but sands down quick with some 80 grit paper. So that's what I have for there. I got all I have left to do. I do actually want to rip this board down here. It's going to be the support that goes up underneath. It's going to be this board right here going up and down to help support the back. I need to rip that in half. I forgot about that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on the table saw. Again, you guys don't need to see that. It's just ripping a board on a table saw. No problem. But that needs to be done. So that's the other cut that needs to happen. You can do that with a hand saw. If you have a hand saw, you can do it with a jigsaw, handheld circular saw. Many different ways of doing that. That's just the way that I planned on doing it with my table saw. So anyway, I'll be back in a moment.